What is good, everybody, man? This is your guy, Manny, back with another video. You guys enjoyed the wide receiver ranking so much that I wanted to go ahead and drop the RB ranking for you guys. This is going to be my top 15 Dynasty running back rankings. Now, for those who know me, if you play Dynasty with me, you know that I've kind of shifted away from running backs and kind of focused more on wide receivers. I'm a kind of guy that either I draft my running back in year one or year two, or I don't draft one at all. I usually do the zero RB in my dynasty startups, and I get these running backs later in the 8th, 9th, 10th round. I just grab whatever that's there, and I use my rookie picks to go ahead and grab these rookie running backs and try to get them on the front end. But if I can get an elite running back at a right price, I still do that as well. But let's go ahead and get this thing going. So doing my top 15, it was real tough. This will not be a long video like the previous video, but you guys still enjoy that. So I'm gonna try to make this thing short, sweet, and to the point. So coming in at number 15, I got my guy Joe Mixon. I'm still gonna have the little player profiles just for a little visual. It just makes the video look a whole lot better instead of just staring at my face the entire time. So Joe Mixon for me comes in at number 15. You're probably wondering, Manny, why are you picking Joe Mixon? What is why? Because at the end of the day, just like for the wide receivers, these veteran running backs, they didn't go away. They didn't go away. These running backs are still available and still productive. These are guys that could help your team. Now, there has been some rumors that, hey, Joe Burrow might not be what he used to be. Joe Burrow might be gone, or he might get cut. He might get traded. Whatever the case may be, Joe Burrow is still very productive. Just a little bit of background about Joe Burrow. So for me, when you process what running backs bring to the table, you factor in age, you factor in the offense. The reason why Joe Burrow is even on this list is because he's in an elite offense, and there's still room for Joe Burrow to grow within this offense. So I've never been a Joe Burrow fan, but if I'm doing my rankings, I will take Joe Burrow. Now, this is pre-draft, so the draft has not taken place. There is not going to be any Bijan Robinson or Charbonnets or any of these other 23 rookie running backs. This is pre-draft, okay? So Joe Mixon, I have him higher than guys like Dameon Pierce and some of these other guys that are up and coming that are, but you'll see. So Joe Burrow, he's been in the league for about 6 years now. He's had 3 1,000-yard rushing seasons, but Joe Burrow has really progressed as a receiving back. So with the receiving upside, with Joe Burrow having 60 receptions last year, that's what's going to boost me to having him as a top 15 running back. Yes, he is getting a little older. He's 26 years old, but even with being 26 years old, he still has a few more years left on the tires. Even if the Bengals are to release him or cut him or trade him, he can still latch on somewhere else, and he is still better than half of the running backs in the league anyway. So he will have a job. So Joe Burrow comes in at number 15, and I do expect him to continue to be a receiving back as long as he's getting these receptions. I love what Joe Burrow to Joe Mixon bring to the table. He was RB10 last year, and I still see him as being a top 12 running back in Dynasty this year, stat-wise. So Joe Burrow comes in at number 15 for me. Coming in at number 14, he's an old guy, but guess what? This guy is as effective as they come. This is Derrick Henry coming in at number 14. I get it. I know he's older. He's 29 years old, but guess what? This guy is built differently. There are a few guys that can come in and do what Derrick Henry does, and Derrick Henry is just one of those special types of talent. Now, he's been in the league for quite a while. He's been in the league for like 7 or 8 years, but he's still very productive. So dating back to 2018, he's a guy that had 1,000 yards. That was his breakout season, coming out party, 1,000 yards, 15 touchdowns, but then follow that up with the next season of 300 carries, 1,500 yards rushing, 16 touchdowns. Then in 2020, we now saw another running back hit that 2,000 rushing mark, and he had 17 touchdowns. He's just that special. Derrick Henry is one of those guys that you can plug into your lineup, even at this age, and you know what you're getting out of Derrick Henry. The Titans today have released tons of players, including Robert Woods, Taylor Lewan. So maybe they're going in a different direction. Just imagine if Derrick Henry is able to find another team that's going to utilize him, kind of like how the Titans were able to. Even in 2021, when he got hurt, he still got 219 carries, and he had that was like in 8 games or so. He had 900 yards rushing. So what if he played that entire year, 17-game season? He might have been close to that 2,000-yard rushing mark once again. Even that year when he played half a season, he had 10 rushing touchdowns. Derrick Henry is just as legit as they come. And then last year, they called it a down year. He rushed for 349 attempts, right? 1,500 yards and still had 13 rushing touchdowns. Look, and then he had a career high in receptions, 33 receptions for almost 400 yards receiving. You add that to what he was already able to do, that's a lot of yards from scrimmage. So I know it's not always about stats, but this guy is not slowing down, and he's not slowing down anytime soon. What if he comes back for one more season? What if you're able to grab Derrick Henry at a good value in your startup drafts? Is it worth it? Absolutely. He's a guy that you can plug in. You can mix in vets and young guys. It's okay to mix the two. I know people get afraid of, oh, this guy's getting old. This guy's that. If he's still productive, why not have him on your team, especially if you are a win now contending team? Derrick Henry comes in at number 14. And my number 13, this is a newcomer. This is a guy that I believed in. This is a guy that came from Oklahoma in the 4th round, Ramondre Stevenson. This guy he's just going to get better and better and better. I love this guy. The knock on Ramondre Stevenson is that, hey, he plays for Bill Belichick, and that system, they have a million running backs. They sub out backs. I told you guys, having an RB list of 15 is tough because you still got to pay respect to these OGs. But Ramondre Stevenson being a newcomer, he came in last year. Damian Harris, a guy who did really, really good the year before. Ramondre Stevenson comes in and takes his spot. Ramondre Stevenson was the RB7 last year, but he just didn't do it just running the ball. This guy right here had a mixture of running, receiving. He was just as solid as they came. He had 210 carries, right? So you're expecting him to have more carries. Damian Harris kind of fizzled out towards the end of the year due to lack of, play and also injuries and things of that nature. So Ramondre Stevenson, 1,000 yards, 5 rushing touchdowns. But the biggest number for me and Ramondre Stevenson, the reason why I love this guy so much was that he had 69 receptions last year. Any running back that's giving you 60 to 70 receptions, they're bound to be RB1s in PPR. If I'm going to draft running backs, I love the guys that are dual threats, guys that can catch, guys that can run. And Ramondre Stevenson is fitting that mold. Even if they bring in another running back in the draft, he still has enough work. Look, give me 70 receptions a year. I would rock with Ramondre Stevenson. That was guys like Kamara. Those are guys like Eckler. Back in those days, even in the timeshare, Ramondre Stevenson was still able to produce, and he had another receiving touchdown and 421 receiving yards. So that's great. If you can keep this pace up, he's going to be a huge asset. He's a guy that falls in drafts. He's a guy that you can grab late into drafts. He's 25 years old, so that's kind of like as running backs go to age 30, they kind of like fizzle out. But the way that I look at it is RBs have a 5-year elite span. 5 years. If you get 5 years out of a running back, that's great. That's why when you're building your startup teams or building any kind of team in Dynasty, you grab your running backs last as a finishing touch to the rest of your team, because that lifespan of the running backs don't last long. You only grab your backs, especially when you're ready to compete. If you're not competing, you grab your running backs last. So when you're ready to compete, that 5-year window, you at least hey, I got this back. He's solid. He's going to be good for the next. So he's been in for 2 years. So in about 3 more years, we don't know what Ramondre Stevenson's life looks like. By that time, he's 28 years old. But for right now, today, 2:22 at 5:02 p.m. Central Time, Ramondre Stevenson is my number 13 running back. Moving on along, this was a guy that was kind of hard to rank because he's so consistent. And he's kind of like a Tim Duncan. He's like a Tim Duncan. Y'all remember Tim Duncan? Tim Duncan was so consistent. He wasn't flashy, but Tim Duncan got the work done. And that reminds me of Nick Chubb. RB6 last year. He should have been higher, but, towards the end of the year, that Cleveland Browns offense kind of struggled. But, yeah, Nick Chubb has been consistent, man. I love this guy. And I became more of a believer, being that Nick Chubb is not a guy that catches a lot of passes. He reminds me of a great value version of Derrick Henry, a guy who's consistent, a guy who's going to get up to 300 rush attempts, and he's going to get you, anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 yards. He's done that 4 years in a row, 1,000 to 1,500 yards. Even his rookie season, he almost had 1,000 yards rushing. So with this kind of pace and consistency, this is the kind of guy that you want. Nick Chubb has never had less than 8 rushing touchdowns in any season. He's been in the league for 5 years. Okay, so you guys are probably, oh well, Manny, he's done the 5 years. He might start to fizzle out. Okay, most running backs, their lifespan is 5 elite years. Nick Chubb still has room for more. That's the good thing about Nick Chubb. The age is decent, 27 years old, and to have 5 elite years already, or 5 good to elite years already, at this pace that he's going, there's still room for more. And you have to realize that Cleveland Browns offensive line is still very good. So he doesn't really have to do much. And one important thing is that Nick Chubb has been in a timeshare for the last few years, and he continues to be in a timeshare. That keeps him fresh. So when he's in a timeshare and he's still producing at this caliber, that's great for him. Granted that if a Derrick Henry was used like this, anywhere from 190 to 228 rush attempts, Derrick Henry would be fresher and he possibly would last longer. But this is a guy that does not have a lot of wear and tear on his body. This past season, 1,500 yards rushing, 12 touchdowns. Then he did some work in the receiving game, 27 receptions, 239 yards. So I do like that as well. He's getting an uptick in his receiving work. And if Kareem Hunt is released or, gone this season, he might get more work in the receiving game. It's not that Nick Chubb cannot catch. They just don't use him that way. So with the receiving uptick next year, the age is decent at 29, definitely younger, guys, definitely younger than a guy like Derrick Henry. So you can expect at least 2 more elite seasons out of Nick Chubb. That's why I have him as my RB12. Coming in at number 11, this is a guy that a lot of you guys don't like, especially in the fantasy community. I get a lot of negative feedback about Najee Harris. He comes in at number 11 for me. Najee Harris is solid, man. I love me some Najee Harris. Now the price. I did a recent startup draft about a month ago, and Najee Harris was able to fall to me at the in the 5th round. That was crazy. Najee Harris at the 501. I'm taking that value all day long. So Najee Harris, after completing his 2nd season, the only knock I can say about Najee Harris and his situation is that the offensive line needs to get better. But Kenny Pickett is in at quarterback. George Pickens, the offense is going to start to get better. They're going to heavily invest in the offensive line. And as the offensive line gets better and Kenny Pickett gets better, you can expect the Najee Harris to get better. Only knock on him, like I said, is he's 24, almost 25 years old. And that's just after completing his 2nd season. So I did not like that portion of Najee Harris. But let's look at what he's done the past 2 years. So in his 1st season, he had 1,200 yards rushing, 7 touchdowns. Then he had 74 receptions in a year when Ben Roethlisberger couldn't throw to save his life. So he was just dumping it off to Najee Harris. We all knew that he cannot sustain that 70-plus reception mark. But we do know that he's able to catch the ball. So what I expect in the next season, he had 41 receptions. I do expect that number to go up next year to around the 60 reception mark. And if he does that, Najee Harris will continue to be will continue to be a RB1 in fantasy, especially in PPR leagues. Last year, he didn't run as well. I mean, there was Jaylen Warren out there kind of, tapping into what he does, but he stayed fairly healthy, still with 1,000 yards, still with 7 touchdowns. Those yards will go up. Those carries will go up. And I do expect the receiving numbers to go up from 41 to about 60 next year. And if that happens, you can expect Najee Harris being in that RB1 category next season. Coming in at number 10, he's a guy that was hurt. He's a guy that we all love, but through injuries, we kind of forgot about how good this guy can be. And coming in at number 10, that's Javonte Williams. I love this guy a lot, but with injury, you kind of get scared. In a season where was his rookie season, he got to split that time with Melvin Gordon. He played really, really well. I mean, everything that he did. The funny thing was I had a lot of Javonte Williams shares, but I didn't really focus on him. When I looked at him at the end of the year, I said, wow, this dude was an RB 17. with all the, all the timeshare, this, all this. I mean, the key with Javonte Williams that rookie season was, I think him and Melvin Gordon both had 203 rush attempts each. But the beauty of it was he had not only did he have 900 yards rushing, he also had 43 receptions, and that's what set him apart from a lot of these other running backs. So 43 receptions, you can expect that number to go up next year, especially if he's healthy. We don't know what his health is going to be. Okay? If he's fully healthy, I definitely have him higher on my list. But because of the injury, and then now with a new coach, with this new coach, you expect him to do better, but maybe they bring in a guy who they might want to use as a receiving back, and they kind of focus, just have Javonte Williams run the ball, get more rushes. I think that offense is going to be a whole lot better under Sean Payton. Javonte Williams is still a dynasty asset. He's still a dynasty name. People love him. He's 22 years old. So I expect this guy to continue to, be better and better and better. But like I said, it was a terrible injury that he had. Even if he misses this next season or plays partially, he's still a dynasty asset just because of his age alone, 22 years old. So when he's fully healthy and ready to go, he might be 23, pushing on 24. That is still a great age to start, doing what he needs to do. So hasn't really played a lot in the NFL, which is good. So it can definitely prolong him into playing into his 30s and continue to go. So I love Javonte Williams a lot. He comes in at number 10 for me. A guy that's coming in at number 9 was a guy that, is so disrespected. This guy is disrespected. This guy's been an RB1 3 years in a row. He's always disrespected. People don't like him for whatever the reason is. And this is Josh Jacobs. I love Josh Jacobs a lot. I've been on a Josh Jacobs train since his rookie season. I was so confident in Josh Jacobs that I was able to trade Derrick Henry before the blow up, for Josh Jacobs. That was just how much I love Josh Jacobs coming out of college. And he's been great ever since. He had these numbers like the rookie year, 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns. And he continues to get disrespected. They say, oh, Josh Jacobs can't catch. Then what did he do in his third season? He had 54 receptions. Then in the season where they draft Zamir White, they bring in all these guys. I'm hearing, oh, Zamir White is going to take this guy's job and this and that. And, oh, Josh Jacobs ain't this. Josh Jacobs ain't that. Guess what happened? That next season, this guy blew up, and he shut everybody up. He ran the ball 340 times under a Josh McDaniels type of offense, right? 340 rush attempts, 1,600 rushing yards. He would have had more, but because the team started losing, they just kind of fizzled out at the end. But even with all these rushing numbers, he had 12 rushing touchdowns. He also had 53 receptions the very next year. 400 yards receiving. No receiving touchdowns, but that can definitely change next year. What happens when they draft Aaron Rodgers? What happens? Not draft. What happens when they trade for Aaron Rodgers or they bring in somebody else? So we're all hoping that Josh Jacobs is re-signed with the Raiders with Aaron Rodgers coming in. If that happens, the sky's the limit for this guy. Even at the age of 25 years old, give me Aaron Rodgers, give me Josh Jacobs. I'm all in on that combo if it happens. Why? Because I've seen Aaron Rodgers take running backs like Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon's games to the next level. A.J. Dillon is probably not as good without an Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Jones is possibly looking for another job without Aaron Rodgers. Yes, he just got, signed and all of that. Let's see what it looks like without Aaron Rodgers next year. But moving on along, the guy that comes in number 8 for me is DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift is one of those guys, whether you like him, whether you hate him, you cannot deny his talent. Now, for me personally, I'm out on DeAndre Swift. I'm trying to trade this guy for value. If I can't get the value that I want, then guess what? DeAndre Swift is definitely going to stay on my team. He's ultra talented, but the thing is, can he stay healthy? For those of you guys that have had injured running backs in the past, you guys kind of understand how it goes. When these guys are hurt, there's not much that you can do. Like when you look at DeAndre Swift in his 3 years, he's never rushed for he's never rushed for more than 617 yards, right? He's never had more than 8 rushing touchdowns, and that was his rookie season. Now the receptions are great, He's had no less than 46 receptions, and he's had a career high in 62 receptions. So the receiving work is there. You know, he's gained anywhere from 350 to 450 yards receiving, right? He's had anywhere to 2 to 3 touchdowns each receiving year, each year receiving. So the receiving work is there, and that's what keeps DeAndre Swift and his upside there. But this is a make or break it year for DeAndre Swift. And he may never make it back at this same level on my list, but because he's a dynasty asset, just because of the age and the upside, what is 24? 24 is a decent age. The receiving work is there. So in PPR leagues, he's definitely an asset. When he plays, he definitely looks great. But it's like, can he stay on the field? Could this be the year that DeAndre Swift stays healthy? This might be a year where he blows up and he goes higher on my rankings, or he just has the same kind of year, and then guess what? He falls out of my ranking because I'm telling you guys, if he goes into year 4 and he doesn't play up to par, guess what? The Lions are done with him, and the Lions end up drafting another running back. I wouldn't even be surprised if the Lions didn't draft another running back this year, especially if Jamal Williams leaves. So DeAndre Swift comes in solely because of upside at number 8 on my list. Coming in at number 7 is a guy that we all know, we all love, and he's actually too low on my list, but because of age, I got to put him at number 7, and that's my main guy, Austin Ekeler. Won me a whole bunch of leagues. Austin Ekeler comes in at number 7. Austin Ekeler is a guy that was undrafted, he was a timeshare back, he was a third down back, all these different titles, playing behind Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon leaves, and he literally saved Austin Ekeler's life, because now he gave Austin Ekeler a bigger purpose, which is a bigger role, which is bigger paycheck, and everything else that comes with it. His breakout season was in 2021, but even before then, it was 2019 when Austin Ekeler entered the RB1 scenes with 92 receptions. Anytime you have a running back that can get you 70 to 100 receptions, you literally skyrocket up the rankings, or skyrocket up the this guy was unbelievable. I have no words. 92 receptions. I remember that year playing redraft. I traded something small. I pick up an Austin Ekeler, and this guy ends up being an RB1 for me, and ends up being a league winner. That year, he had 92 receptions. He had 993 yards receiving, 8 receiving touchdowns. That's huge. And then he still gives you 500 yards rushing. And that's in a timeshare with Melvin Gordon. That was the year our eyes got really open to who Austin Ekeler is. Granted that he always gets receiving touchdowns, at least 3. Career low was 2, but he always gets at least 3 receiving touchdowns or more. He's always rushing for no minimum than 500 yards plus rushing, right? So then in 2020, didn't have the season that he wanted, right? But he was still solid, still had 54 receptions. So at least you know that Austin Ekeler is a receiving threat. At that time, you're thinking, is he like a J.D. McKissick type of guy? Just come in, get these receptions, and then he kind of fizzles out? Nah. In 2021, guess what? He now has his own backfield. Guess what? Because Melvin Gordon is gone. This guy right here rushed for 911 yards rushing, had 12 rushing touchdowns. So now he's showing you he can run in between the tackles and get the tough yards and score. 12 rushing touchdowns is great for a guy of his stature. Then he follows that up with 70 receptions for 647 yards and another 8 receiving touchdowns. So in 2021, this guy was undisputed, one of the best running backs. I pegged him that year for 100 receptions. It didn't happen, but he had 20 touchdowns combined, and had well over 1,600 yards from scrimmage. That's Austin Ekeler in a nutshell. And in 2022, we're looking at his age. We're like, oh, he's getting older. Oh, they draft Isaiah Spiller. Oh, what's going to happen? Nobody's scared of Isaiah Spiller, okay? Isaiah Spiller did nothing, okay? This guy rushes for 915 yards. So career high in rushing, right? Now he has 13 rushing touchdowns, career high in rushing touchdowns. Then he had 107 receptions, career high in receptions, 722 yards receiving, and 5 receiving touchdowns. That is Austin Ekeler. And I'm telling you guys, if it was not because of Dynasty, literally, Austin Ekeler would be my RB1 in my rankings. Just because it's Dynasty and because of age, that's the only reason why I have Austin Ekeler ranked at 7. And to be honest, that could be possibly too low. You guys let me know in that comment section. So the next guy that comes in at number 6 for me is Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley is a guy that I've had a love and hate relationship with, just for the simple fact that the guy couldn't stay healthy. And that's why I'm saying that if DeAndre Swift can ever get healthy, sky's the limit for him. Saquon Barkley is special, though. Saquon Barkley, there's only one Saquon Barkley. The guy is one of those guys that comes in and just changes the game, like physically gifted. He's a guy that I would compare to like Adrian Peterson in terms of the way that he preps, the way that he runs, like who he is. Like, this guy is special. You know, he's a guy that people are comparing Bijan Robinson to. Now, disclaimer, Bijan Robinson is not in this video. Like I said, this is pre-draft. But Saquon Barkley, his rookie season, he rushed for 1,300 yards, 11 rushing touchdowns. He had 91 receptions in his rookie season for 721 yards, 4 touchdowns. So we know that he's special. We know that he had over 2,000 yards from scrimmage. We know that he had over 15 touchdowns, and we know he had 91 receptions his rookie season. But it's kind of like ever since that rookie season, you have not really seen that kind of Saquon. Could it be because of the Giants? Could it be because of the injuries? Then, the very next year, 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. But the thing is, he always gets these receptions, and that's one thing I love. Even in his second year, he still had 52 receptions. Like, you got to have those 50 or more receptions in PPR to kind of stay in that elite range for me in PPR. So he catches the ball very well. He runs very well. Of course, we know what happened in 2020 and 2021, those injuries. I mean, it was like you saw people selling Saquon. You saw Saquon going super late in startup drafts. And I didn't even have no belief. I had no faith in Saquon. I'm sorry. 2022, he comes in. He's fully healthy. He barely misses games. 1,300 yards rushing, 10 rushing touchdowns. If it was not because of Daniel Jones, this guy would have had more rushing touchdowns. He would have had more rush attempts, but they had just that nice combo between Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. It worked out well for both of them. He had 57 receptions that year. And you can kind of say that Eli Manning is better than Daniel Jones. That's debatable. That's for a whole nother video. But Saquon Barkley's back, man. And, the age is decent. He's 26 years old. He has not played a lot of football because of the 2 years of injury. So when this guy is fully healthy, he's good enough to give you 4 more elite seasons. That's why I have him ranked so high on my list at number 6. Saquon is awesome. And then, like, right here, they're comparing him to a guy like David Johnson. Yes, they're similar, but Saquon's a way better athlete than David Johnson. Y'all remember rookie season when Saquon used to hurdle people and do all these different things. Now he's more careful. He's more conservative. So you don't see that crazy Saquon from rookie season, but he's still elite. He's still special. Coming in at number 5 is a guy that missed his entire rookie season, and that's Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne is special. This guy right here is playing with his former college teammate, and I knew when they drafted Trevor Lawrence that it was going to be a beautiful marriage between these two. Playing for the Jags. There are people that tell me, oh, it's the Jags. They're not going to do anything. They can't do anything, this and that. But Etienne, he's a pretty good back, man. He's a pretty good back. The age is great. He's 24 years old. Decent size, 215 pounds. The guy's elusive. I mean, the guy is special. And this season, which is his rookie season, essentially, he had 1,100 yards plus rushing. He had 5 touchdowns. But then the receiving work, you guys know I love the receiving work. He had 35 receptions for 316 yards receiving. Expect that number to go up next year. I get that Calvin Ridley's coming back. I get that they are better team receiving-wise and passing the ball, but I think that Trevor Lawrence is going to find his bread and butter, and it's Etienne. So I see Etienne's receptions going anywhere from 35 to about 55 next year, and I think that Etienne could take that next step. He's special. He had to fight his way into the lineup. He had to kind of get over James Robinson. And then once he kind of passed that James Robinson hurdle, the sky's the limit for Etienne. Right now, he is ranked my Dynasty RB5. Go purchase Etienne everywhere you can get him. He's going to startups in the second round because he is that special. Let's go ahead and move to my number 4. He's a guy that is debatable between him and ETN. You can flip-flop these two guys, but I always go the younger guy. The younger guy is always going to be the better guy for me, especially when it comes to Dynasty. So give me Kenneth Walker at the number 4. Kenneth Walker did some amazing things in his rookie season. He was a guy that people didn't talk too much about because of the guy that he came in with in his draft. So he never really got the kind of respect that he deserved to get. But Kenneth Walker is great, man. Good size, 211 pounds, 5'9". He's in a perfect offense. Seattle, they love to run the ball. So when you look at him, he had 1,000 yards last year. And then, mind you, he had to get the job. So it's not like he had the job the whole season. He had to work his way as a starter. And once he became the starter, he was putting up monster numbers. He had 9 rushing touchdowns. He had 27 receptions, 165 yards. And those reception numbers are going to go up. We saw how great of a receiver Kenneth Walker is. He is a 3-down back, and you don't get a lot of 3-down backs. Now, we know that Seattle loves to run the ball, so they possibly bring in somebody else to match with Kenneth Walker, but he has enough. He's gonna get enough work to still be super relevant and super RB1 status. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that he is that good. So he ended up at RB18 last year due to circumstances of when he took over as a starter, and then even then, they still sprinkle in different guys here and there. But he's 22 years old. I love the age of Kenneth Walker. If you can grab this guy in your startup, you go ahead and grab him. Now, the GOATs of all GOATs, I'm going to just give him that title. That's Christian McCaffrey. There has never been another running back like Christian McCaffrey. He comes in number 3. I get it. He's 26 years old right now. I get it, the age. But Christian McCaffrey, when fully healthy, is pretty good. Like, I have sold Christian McCaffrey all last offseason, and I sold him for massive profits. Everybody loves Christian McCaffrey. This guy has done things that regular humans can't do, and that's being a dual threat. Of course, his rookie season, he didn't play much. He's getting acclimated. But within his rookie season, he still had 80 receptions. Just let that sink in. In his rookie season, he's getting acclimated. He's drafted in the first round, getting acclimated, but he has 80 receptions. That should kind of tell you the kind of back this guy is. And in PPR, that's money. I told you guys, receptions are a king. He had 80 receptions, had 5 receiving touchdowns. He had 651 receiving yards. That was just like his coming out party. Like, hey, I'm a receiving back. Then it was question about his running, right? His second season, 1,000 yards, 7 rushing touchdowns. Not only that, he had 107 receptions. 107 receptions in his rookie season, 800-plus yards, 6 receiving touchdowns. Then you're seeing, okay, the greatness of Christian McCaffrey. I mean, he's tossing up crazy numbers. Third year, 1,300 yards rushing. It gets even better. 15 rushing touchdowns, 116 receptions as a running back, another 1,000 yards. Not only did he have 1,000 yards rushing, he had 1,000 yards receiving and 116 receptions. That's a whole nother wide receiver 1 type numbers right there. And then 4 touchdowns. Then the injuries came in 2000 and 2001, 2002. You kind of know how that goes. So 3 years of injuries was very discouraging. And for those who stuck with Christian McCaffrey, you are definitely reaping those benefits now, right? So he plays well in 2022. Sorry, 2 years of injuries in 21 and 22. Sorry, 20 and 21. So in 22 is a split thing. He's with Carolina. He's playing decent. He's playing well. He's healthy. Then they said, you know what? We're going to trade this guy. Because with running backs, you guys know the lifespan. Carolina's not they're not a team that's trying to win right now. So guess what? They trade him to, 49ers. He goes there. He has another good season combined for over 80 receptions. Combined for over 600 yards receiving, over 1,000 yards rushing, 8 touchdowns, 5 receiving. And in that system in 49ers, he's going to do well. Not only that, they're not going to overuse him. They're going to use guys like Eli Mitchell and all these different guys to prolong his career. As long as they're prolonging his career, he's going to be getting you 80 receptions every single year. And if he's doing that, that's going to definitely boost his numbers, and that's going to keep him as an RB1 locked in, most times RB1 overall. based off of how well he plays and how healthy he stays. So he's 26 years old, but he's still worth it. He's going in startups in the second round right now. Sometimes he goes in the first round, which is crazy to me, but Christian McCaffrey is still the GOAT of all GOATs. Until somebody comes in and has done what Christian McCaffrey has done, he's the GOATs of all GOATs when it comes to running backs. He's the prototypical running back that you're looking for. He comes in at number 3. Coming in at number 2 for me is a guy that's forgotten right now. He's disrespected because of an injured, riddled season last year, and that's Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor is a great running back, and he's disrespected, and he's starting to fall in drafts. And it's crazy to me that people are out here grabbing the new toys. They're forgetting who Jonathan Taylor is, but that's okay. He's 24 years old, so like the age is good right now. He just completed his 3rd season where he got hurt. First season, he kind of took over that job and became the guy. 1,100 yards, 11 touchdowns, 36 receptions, 299 yards and a touchdown. Then in year 2, he has that amazing, unbelievable season, 1,800 yards rushing, 18 rushing touchdowns, 40 receptions. They said he can't catch 40 receptions, 360 yards receiving and 2 receiving touchdowns, 20 total touchdowns. And then where I'm seeing people trade 3 first-round picks for Jonathan Taylor, they're like, oh, this is the second coming of a Christian McCaffrey mixed with a Derrick Henry. I mean, the comps were just crazy, but he's just that good. Then, in year 3, he gets hurt. So heading into year 4, that's a very important year for running backs because after that, guess what? It's time to pay these guys. So I expect them to have a good season, a bounce back season, a healthy season. The Colts still have a decent offensive line. So you can look for this guy to have a great season. I can't say too much about Jonathan Taylor other than, hey, he is my RB Dynasty running back number 2. And coming in at number 1 is a guy that was a rookie last year. This guy came in and tore it up. This guy right here, he's amazing. We all love him. We all know him. And it's Breece Hall. Outside of Bijan Robinson, what other running back would you want to have right now on your team? And that's Breece Hall. He's 21 years old. He has the opportunity to stick around in the NFL for a very long time, as long as he stays healthy. I loved everything that Breece Hall was able to do last year. So just the age alone and the upside makes Breece Hall my number 1 running back. We know what he did. I'm not going to go too much into the stats, but he had a great season before he got hurt. I mean, this guy's trajectory was going to be sick. I mean, he started to kind of pick things up each and every week. And in redrafts, I was drafting this guy in the 4th round in redrafts. Then in startups, this guy was going like in the 2nd round, sometimes 1st round, at the end of the 1st. Even now, he's going at the 112 range, 201 on the swing. Breece Hall is amazing. I've been acquiring as many Breece Hall shares as I can, especially on the teams that I'm ready to compete in now. But even if I'm not competing, his age, he's 21 years old. Even if I'm competing in the next 2 or 3 years, he's still going to be young enough and still productive enough to help my team win championships. So, guys, this is your guy, Manny. This is my rankings, my top 15 Dynasty running back rankings. Please let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Did you guys enjoy the video? Did you guys not like the video? Did you guys like my rankings? Did you guys not like my rankings? Where do you guys think I did well or messed up in? Let me know in the comment section and we can have a discussion. I enjoyed this. I'm going to have the QB and the tight end rankings coming out soon. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please subscribe. Please like. Please share. And I'm going to catch you guys on that next video. I'm out. Peace.